Okay, so the last video I showed you and discussed the mate and flush constraint and how we were going to use that for the clock project. Now we're going to go ahead. I've deleted that part out before because it wasn't mated and flushed correctly in here, and I wanted to go back and have you do this on your own. It's good practice to kind of pull these in just to reinforce and remember how to do it. So I'm going to start by placing that back piece. So I'll click on the place feature, navigate through and find the back part. So, and hit open to bring it in. Now, I can zoom out just a little bit and pan down. I'm going to left click to place the part on my screen, and I'm going to right click and hit OK to get out of it because I only need one piece. Now, a couple of the other things that we need to mention here, and this is where you're going to get used to using your and keeping your right hand on your mouse and your left hand on your keyboard is uh, right now, if you look, I can take my scroll wheel and I can just rotate and move and zoom in and out on it. I can press down on that scroll wheel and I can uh, move it around this way. If I hold the control button down, so so if I hold the shift button down, sorry, I gave you the wrong one. So, and this is where sometimes it'll hang up because you're really taxing your uh, graphics card, depending on it. I've got a lot of information on this computer, so it's kind of running slow for me a little bit today. But I can hold the shift button down, depress the track roller, and I can kind of rotate this around so I can see what I need to. And that's what you're going to want to do. And you're going to get used to using your view cube and this to do it. Now, when we place these constraints, so I'm going to click on the constraint. When we place these constraints, you're going to think about attaching one surface to another surface. And in general, I want to leave the fixed at origin part alone first. And I want to say, well, I want to attach this surface on the moving part to this surface on my fixed part. So in this case, I'm going to attach a surface of my back piece to a surface on my bottom part. So let me show you what I mean here. And we're going to start with the mate here. So I'm going to select my mate tool. I'm going to kind of use my view cube here, and I'm going to rotate that view cube because the surface that I want to affix is this part of that back piece. Now, you have to be careful that you don't pick up on an edge because I can also pick up on an edge there too. So I'm going to left click on that, see how it changes and highlights, and I'm going to go back to my view cube and rotate it around. I could also have my shift button and roll track to do this. And I'm going to mate that feature to this top portion of my clock. And you hear that snap, I'll hit apply and it's placed it. Let me cancel out of this constraint screen here for a minute so you can see it. It looks like I haven't uh, fixed this and it looks like it's moving. So let's go to front view just to see what's happening. It has been fixed, so we mated those surfaces. So you can see I can still move it in the X, but I cannot move it in the Y. It's attached. So I've eliminated the movement in the Y. So let's rotate around here on our view cube. So, and I can still move it this way too. So that's going to be what I fix next. So let's come back over to my view cube and I'll do this. Now, rotating around so that I see the back of my clock. My constraint now is going to be a flush. So, and I'm going to flush this back surface of the back part to this back edge of my bottom piece. So click that and hit apply. And it's taken care of. I'm going to cancel out of the place constraint again just to show you now. So, all right. So now, as I'm looking, let's go to the right side view here. Notice this now looks like it is fully locked in this view. So, but when we turn around to the front view, you'll see that I still have movement that direction. So I got to do one last constraint, and I gotta lock that in as well. Now, this way I'm gonna kind of come here from that. Now I'm gonna show you something now that will kind of give you an error because some of you are going to run into this. Let's say if I want to say I'm going to constrain this and I'm going to use the mate constraint here, and I'm going to say, well, I want uh, this surface to be mated to right here to that. And if you ever having some issues where just zoom in, you'll pick up on it. So now notice it did not move anything. And if I click apply here, it's going to the assembly can't be solved. You can't do it. Um, so let's just cancel out the operation. And you can't do that because it knows you fixed it to the back surface. So it can't be attached to the back part of this piece and the front piece at the same time. It's just not possible. So you'll sometimes get those errors, and then you're going to have to rethink about how you're placing your flush or your mate. So I am going to use the flush constraint, and I'm going to make this edge flush with this surface. Go to the front view to look at it. So there we go. We fixed that. But again, we don't want it to be right there. We want to offset this. And if you remember from the last video, we offset that a 1/2 inch to place that in center. So there you go. I'm going to hit apply. Cancel this out now, and you'll see I've got that second piece. At this point, everything's fixed. It passes the wiggle test. While I can move the whole assembly down, if I'm just on either one of these parts, they are fixed and fully constrained. So they pass the wiggle test, and I can't move them around anymore. So that's the second part that we're going to play. So our next one, we're going to come back and we've got a couple more pieces here to place together on this to finish this off.